Hello. So this one is about the Big Bear. Quite a few people sent me messages and stuff telling me, "Oh, Big Bear just dishonored the Catholics, and what do you have to say about Big Bear saying that all the Catholics are gay and blah blah blah." Well, by the way, this is on his stream number 863, which you can see on unauthorized. I watched the whole thing pretty much, except for the last 20 minutes or so. I kind of skipped ahead a little bit now and then. I didn't really miss anything. I was basically listening to while I was working. I had to do some donkey work that wasn't particularly, didn't occupy my mind very much. So as I was doing that, I was just listening to his whole stream. And the first thing I gotta say about his stream 863, it's actually really funny. Certainly the first 40 minutes or an hour or something like that. Really funny. He actually comes up with some very funny stuff. Now, there's a couple of things about Owen I need to explain. So, and why, there's people like saying, oh, but he believes the earth is flat and blah, blah, blah. And right. So, let me be absolutely clear. I absolutely am 100% convinced Big Bear is completely fucking wrong about the earth being flat, the moon not being a planet, the sun, all that stuff, right? I am with the normal astronomy people that have telescopes like my big one and understand how this shit works, can model when you're going to have an eclipse or whatever. But that's not the point. You see, I think I've understood why Owen is the way he is. He basically rejects pretty much all the lies that people have told him. And now sometimes when you do that, you start from complete scratch and you go down the wrong road. It happens, it's a process. And in doing that, he also exposes some very, very true things, which is why this particular thing is very funny. And he is ahead of most people in this respect. Now, let me explain something about why a lot of people turn against him or get upset or whatever. And this is what I think. And, if Big Bear ever watches this, because, I know that people in both camps or maybe the little camps, whatever. So if somebody sends him this and you actually hear this, Owen, I hope you let me know if I got it right. Because I'm a curious guy, I like to know stuff. I like to know. Oh, by the way, already the volume is low. I don't know if you've been hearing the first 20 minutes. What are we? 3 minutes in. Forgot about this. So I hope you got all of that. But basically, what I was saying is one of the reasons that I think that Owen is sometimes hated passionately by quite a lot of people is. Yeah, when he says things like, oh, the earth is flat or whatever, people freak out and they get upset, they call him a retard, whatever. And in that particular respect, I do think he's a retard in that particular respect. But hold on, Big Bear, if you're watching, I want your opinion on this later, if you care to give it, right? This is what I think. Owen's mind, his brain works in a slightly different way. And in certain respects, he's well ahead of most people. Now, what happens with that is, and he is definitely auditory, he hears words, tunes, music completely in a way that, I don't, and a lot of people don't. My wife's a little bit like that. So he's got a very good facility with language. And, he was going on about quite funny news reports about Virginia Fox, sex saves Virginia Fox from, the doping scandal in the Olympics or whatever. Dick Pound, the leader of the Olympics, and his book is basically a hand holding a shaft. And Jared hates sex, and Israel Burns, all these names, Ellen DeGenerate, all these names and how they were related to the zeitgeist of the world. Now, a lot of people think, oh, he's just making shit up, he's crazy. But no, you have to understand that the CIA funded to the tune of millions, if not billions of dollars, what they call modern art, or what the fuck they call it, post something, or postmodernist art. That's it. It's an absurd name, postmodernist. Modernist means futuristic, and post means after. So it's after the future. It's like a nonsensical sentence. But the CIA funded that to demoralize people. Why? Because it's part of the Freemasonic thing. Now, when my next book comes out, which the working title, by the way, I think is Reclaiming the Catholic Church. So you people are thinking, oh, but you call yourself a Catholic and Big Bear was having a go at the Catholics. No. I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a moment. But first, let me explain why people hate on Big Bear. And sometimes they're really his best buddy and then they turn on him. This is why. Because Owen grates strongly against people who understand or use primarily dialectic to a certain extent. So for example, I've got a pretty high IQ, so I can get over this sort of thing. But if you take the average, or even, midwit, the 120 IQ guy, who's spent, a good part of his life believing all the astronomy and looking at how the moon works and the planets and the suns, and sitting out there with his telescope in the sun, the rain, checking out the sunspots with the special filters and looking at the moon phases and all that. And he's been doing that for a few years. And he's kind of a little bit autistic, and he likes maths and that sort of thing. Along comes Big Bear and goes, no, the earth is flat. There's an ice wall and there's giants. He's just like, this guy's fucking insane. Best case scenario. Worst case scenario, he's been following for a while, getting into it, because Owen speaks what he believes is the truth. So, that is very powerful, and people get drawn in by that, and they get attracted to that. They think, oh, he's my buddy. And then all of a sudden, he turns around and goes, oh, by the way, there's an ice wall and I want to get behind it because then that's where the hollow world lives, or whatever. I don't know that he said that. I'm just making shit up. And the guy's all of a sudden, it's like, nails on a chalkboard. He's like, oh, what? Well, there was some nice music playing and all of a sudden, freaks him out. And that's what he does. And to a certain extent, he's done that to me to a minor extent, because I don't, he's a guy on the internet at the end of the day. I met him once very briefly. He's a nice guy. I like him. I think he's a genuine person. But the fuck difference does it make in my life if he thinks that the earth is flat? Now, it does make a difference. I do think it does make a difference, and I do think it's, it's not good to give wrong information. But I don't think he's doing it with a malignant intent. So he's just wrong about that, and whatever, that's fine, I mean, just so you guys know, I don't believe at all that there's an ice wall. I don't believe that Antarctica is like not what it is. I mean, you must understand that I met 3 times over a period of years, decades probably, Ranulph Fiennes. Ranulph Fiennes, in case you don't know, is the guy who literally crossed Antarctica on foot. Him and his friend Mike Stroud. And I read his book and I thought, man, this fucking is incredible. And then he was doing a book signing. This is when I lived in South Africa, and I went to meet him. I talked with him, and I asked him a couple of questions that actually pissed him off because I knew he'd lost a toe and his eyesight had gone a bit and his shoulders gone, because a fucking horrendous. You've got to read that book. It's called Mind Over Matter. It's brilliant. So I met the guy, and and I've met him since, and I'll tell you that story too, but this guy's literally crossed Antarctica. Are you gonna fucking tell me that you're gonna stand in front of that man and tell him, you lied, you lied, you didn't cross Antarctica, you went round, you got lost, and keep in mind, this guy doesn't use compasses to navigate. He uses his watch and the sun. So you got to also figure out how that works in your flat earth theory. How the fuck is he following the sun and going in a circle and getting lost, and the ships are picking him up on the other side? Okay, because he gets dropped off here and then he gets picked up on the other fucking side by the ship that picks him up. Now, I've met this man, not once, briefly for a little bit. I've spoken with him. He even, briefly albeit, but he even offered to help me with a crazy idea that I had of exploration, which has since sort of fallen through. But he gave me the name of a couple of guys that I could, you know, go and use to ask for help. And he's already in his late 70s, I think. And he's a completely crazy guy, right? He fucking has done some really weird, tough shit. Very interesting man. If you can get a talk where he's speaking at or whatever, go to it. Buy his books, read his books. He's read some part fiction books as well. You know, I mean, written some part fiction books as well. He's very clever about it, very English. He's since then lost a finger by frostbite and so on. This guy has circumnavigated the Earth vertically, like, you know, not around the equator, but around the other way around, crossing both poles. It took him fucking 10 years to do it, and I think he's the first guy that ever did it. And I've met him now 3 different times on 3 different occasions, years apart. I've spoken with him. I spent a little bit of time talking with him. Now, unlike Big Bear, I am an extremely good judge of character. Unless you're a pretty woman and you got a pussy, then I can make mistakes. That's why I've been divorced twice. You know, I am a Venetian. We have 2 heads. Sometimes the lower head takes precedence. It just happens. But if you're a man, I don't genuinely remember a single instance where I have badly misjudged a male human being, and especially not one that I've spent some time talking with and looking into and researching. So if you're gonna tell me that Randolph Fiennes is a fucking liar, I'm gonna tell you to go fuck yourself. Because if I had to bet between Randolph Fiennes and anybody that says that he didn't do what he says he did, I'm gonna stick on Randolph Fiennes' side. Now, having said all that, there is some time, I'm never saying there is 0% chance, right? There is some 0.0000 and a lot of fucking zeros, and then maybe there's a 1, where maybe I'm fucking wrong. Randolph Fiennes is a liar, or he's been brainwashed into believing that he did walk across Antarctica and they cut off his fingers in a lab somewhere, whatever, okay, whatever crazy story you want to come up with. But here's the thing where I don't agree with Owen. I've already said about the flat earth and that, but here's, you know, his reasoning for that, and it's not bad. His reasoning is not bad. He's saying, oh, a lot of people don't want to know the truth, they can't handle the truth, so they want to be lied to. I'm not one of those guys, all right? I would love, I'm absolutely not kidding now, I would love for the earth to be flat, there being a giant ice wall in Antarctica, giants existing behind that wall, or other realms, or the hollow earth, or fucking dinosaurs in the lost land of, you know, the lost world or whatever. I would love that shit, all right? I would be there like a fucking shot. I would ask Dad, you know, he's getting on a bit. Dad, give me the 460 Weatherby that he's got, the elephant gun, and I just want to go explore this shit. And you know what? He would send me on with his blessing, because he's a crazy fucking old man too. So, no, I'm not scared of, oh, the unknown. I have lived my entire fucking life jumping into the unknown with eyes closed, feet and hands tied, and thinking, well, if it is an ocean, I could probably swim my way out of it, even though I'm all tied up. And if it's a long drop onto concrete, maybe if I just flex my leg. That's how I live. You know, I'm not scared of any of that shit. So no, that's not the reason. The reason is that logic, math, and everything that I've learned in my life proves to me that the astronomy that's in the astronomy book, for the most part, is correct. Are they lying in there? Yes, they're lying. There are lies about the astronomy stuff. There are lies in the physics. There are lies in the chemistry. There are plenty of lies. Don't get me wrong. Some alchemy actually works. Mars is not the way they tell you it is. Neither is the moon. But it is still a planet. It does still move the way it did. We did go to the moon. Not the way they tell you we did. We didn't fucking use a rocket to get there. Or at least we didn't use the rocket all the way there. All the pictures that you've seen about the landing on the moon is bullshit. Most of them. I think almost all of them probably. So, you know, I'm a complicated guy. Like Vox said, the Kurgan has thoughts that you didn't even think were possible to have. Look at my first videos. I explain all this stuff. But that's not the point of this. The point of this is I wanted to explain that, yes, I do believe that Owen gets hated on because he sees things that other people don't see, patterns that other people don't see. Like, for example, the CIA funded, to the tune of millions, if not billions, this postmodernist art, and it was to demoralize people. Why? Because all those deep state actors, they're all Freemasonic in origin, essentially. Now, they can call themselves Illuminati, they can call themselves Satanists, they can call themselves Epstein buddies, whatever, I don't care. They're all the same thing. They're all satanic fuckers. And that's what they do. So that was a real thing. I mean, that's come out. That is now public record. So when Owen says, well, when you've got newspaper headlines that go, Virginia fucks, Dick Pound, Jared hates sex, Israel burns, and Ella degenerate, you know, isn't this the same sort of shit? And that's why he says, you know, the CIA's comedy department is really happy, it's really good. And I kind of agree with him, you know. And he says, you know, this stuff has power over you until you see it. Now, I absolutely agree with him on that point. Not because he showed me the light or anything, but because I stopped reading newspapers 12 years ago. I never really did watch the news to begin with, but I stopped reading any kind of newspaper, any kind of mainstream media news. I stopped reading that about 12 years ago. And it started out as an experiment. I said, you know what, I'm not going to read a fucking newspaper for a month, just for a month, just to see what happens. Well, I never went back because I did it for a month. Then I picked up a newspaper again and I was like, this is like the same sensation you get if you step in dog shit, barefoot, far from anywhere where you can wash it. It's like none of this shit is relevant to me and it's polluting my brain. I don't want to read about the 3-year-old kid, baby, you know, baby Peter or Peter B, that was beaten to death by his own fucking parents. A 3-year-old kid that social services fucking came and looked at many times and just ignored. What can I do about it? All right? Until society collapses, and then I'll put on a cape and start to slit throats. You know, if total anarchy rules, well, then I'm going to have to protect my own, and I am definitely going to be a fucking warlord. And you're either going to be on my side or you're going to be against me. There's not going to be a middle road. But until that time happens, you know, when and if I become a warlord, if in my area somebody beats their own child to death, they will be burnt at the stake. And it won't even be burning at the stake in one go. It'll be, we'll burn your leg off on Monday. Tuesday's the next leg. Wednesday's the arm. Thursday's the other arm. And on Friday we have a big party and we burnt the hell of what's left of you. You know, it's going to take you a while to die if you beat a 3-year-old kid to death for fun. Fuck that. So, but I'm not going to do, you know, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm living my life. I don't even know who these people are, whatever. What do I need that polluting shit in my head? I mean, I read this over 12 years ago and it still sticks in my mind. I still think about Baby P sometimes. Baby Peter, I think that was his name. It bothers me, fucking irritates me. But there's nothing I can do about it. Now, do I want to read that shit every day, all day, 50 of those things a day going into my head? No. And that's why there are people that I respect and they're good at their job and, you know, they, work-wise, they're great guys, but they feed on that shit every day and then they come out with things like, oh, but Trump is such a horrible man. And I'm like, based on what? The fucking CNN that you've been consuming for the last 15 years straight. Dude, that's like a guy on crack telling you that, you know, there are pink elephants crossing the room. And you're like, no, there fucking aren't, dude, you know. And that's the same sort of thing. So Owen does see certain patterns and certain things that other people don't see. And then you've got to remember, and he said this himself, so I'm not saying this in a disparaging way, but Owen himself said it. He is a German peasant. He's from German peasant stock, with a bit of giant thrown in. Now, as those of you who know me well know, the Germans are not my favorite people. They're loud, they're rude, they're fucking ignorant, and when they get a little bit of power, they try and take over the world. Every single fucking time, right? But you also know that I love peasants. Actual peasants are salt of the earth people. Now, I'm not a peasant. there probably is some Germanic, Teutonic, or fucking Viking in me, because believe it or not, when I had hair as a little boy, I was blonde. So was my little son. So was my brother and my sister and my dad. And my mother had blue-grayish eyes. You can't see it now. My eyes used to be brown when I was a kid. They're greenish now. They're basically dirty green with a little bit of brown in the middle, and the rest of it is green. And I'm 6'2", which is not normal for, you know, the average Italian. But then again, I'm not Italian, I'm a Venetian. My great-grandfather was 2 meters tall. So, and we definitely have the Viking genes, because, you know, I've got a thing hanging on my wall with my family crest, which I've investigated in depth now. And there are absolutely references to our family from the year 1200. That's confirmed. I've got the paperwork on it. I've found the original were in these ancient tomes that were written years ago that listed noble families and so on. And our family is in there. And our name was Philo, not Filotto. Filotto came from the fact that we kicked everybody's ass and took over the Tower of Susanna. So, no, we come from a genetically huge, long line of fighters. We were warriors from day one, and we kind of still are. We're still involved in that kind of work and mercenary stuff, and, you know, armed protection, martial arts, fighting, hunting. It's in our DNA, right? And it's been in our DNA in a way that you can historically track for over 800 years. And before that, we know that we were still doing that shit. We just don't have the physical paperwork. It's sort of more, you know, as you go further back into time, it becomes more legendary. So I am by no means a peasant. I can be a very rough character. I can survive all sorts of things, but I am more of the crusader warrior type. You know, they're not fragile people, but at the same time, I'm not a peasant. And again, I don't say that disparagingly. You know, I think Gorin no Sho says there are 4 types of men. There is the artisan, there is the farmer, there is the merchant, and there is the gentleman warrior. You know, what the translation, you know, the samurai or whatever. And that's it. You know, and Owen comes from farmer stock. You know, he is basically farmer stock, and possibly an artist. You know, a mixture between an artist and a farmer. I am neither of those things. I have some ability to do some art because I write and I do certain things, you know, pictures and paintings and whatever, which are not shown to the world. But, you know, I have some ability there. But I wouldn't say that's my greatest skill. But I'm definitely from the fighting stock. That's what we do. Now, the thing about German peasants, they might be rude. They might be a little bit offensive. They certainly don't trim their fucking beard properly. And they lick their finger when they turn pages in a very old, good book, which, you know, that's a fucking hanging offense. But, despite all that, what a German peasant will pretty much almost never do to you is intentionally outright lie to you to try and deceive you. It's not in their genetic makeup. They can be totally fucking wrong and fight you to the death over it, never seeing the light and never realizing they're wrong, but they're doing what they honestly believe is the truth. So you can't blame them. And, you know, Owen does do that. So I can't blame a guy who's doing that. You know, I've been wrong, and he might be wrong about a bunch of stuff, but so what? He's honest, he's genuine, and at heart, he's a good guy. You know, he is a good person. I don't think he's an evil guy. I don't think he wishes bad on people. I think he does wish bad on the right people, pedophiles and so on. But now let's get to it. You know, he goes on about a bunch of stuff, and people get all upset because he is rhetorically a genius. He gets to you, right? He gets into your feelings because he says something that you're like, haha, I'm laughing. Oh, it's funny. Oh, that's okay. And then he'll say something that you're like, no, man, you're going too far. You crossed the line now. You crossed the line. So he was going on about the Trinity and whatever. But first, before that, he was going on about Catholics. Now, Owen doesn't know the difference between Novus Ordo and actual Catholics. It's not his fault. And if you call yourself a Catholic, do you know whose fault it is? Yours. It's your fucking fault. Because you haven't learned what it is to be a Catholic. Now me, I was a dirty heathen for 47 years. All right? 47 years of my life, I was a complete fucking heathen. You have no idea of the kind of shit that I got up to, the people I was involved with, the stuff that I did, the relationships I had. You wouldn't fucking believe it if I told you, all right? Complete heathen. But then something happened and I changed and I started to look and I started to read and I started to study and I started to try to understand what is all this. And yes, I became a Catholic. 3 years ago, I was baptized 25th of May, Ascension Day. And I became a Catholic. But actually a Catholic. Not Novus Orco. Not somebody that pays obeisance to that fucking sick fuck Bergoglio. Who, by the way, on his stream at some point, somebody said, oh, you know, you're saying that Bergoglio, the Pope, is gay or whatever. But, you know, of course, the Pope is straight, you know, he's not gay. Listen, I'm going to show you something now. Here. And, you know, my technological skills are not up to it. You see that? Oh, come on. There. Can you see that? That is Bergoglio holding hands with a gay activist, gay rights activist, priest, inverted commas, called Luigi Ciucciacazzi or something, I don't remember. Luigi something, right? And Ciucciacazzi, for those of you that speak Italian, you know what that means. And before this, Bergoglio's boyfriend was Gustavo Vera. Gustavo Vera is a fucking child trafficker, alleged, who was going to have a lady called Natasha Jarrett, I think. I'm not sure of her surname. First name was Natasha. Now this lady, she was a lady, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. She was also an escort, and yes, she'd had a drug problem which she'd stopped. She became a mother, she had 2 kids. She was a prostitute. And I saw an interview that she did in Spanish because it was in Argentina, and I understand Spanish well enough, fluently enough to understand everything she said without having to need the translations. And you must also understand that as I did say, I do have a weakness when a pretty woman is involved, but not when it's over a screen. You know, it's if I'm physically, emotionally, intentionally involved with somebody, that maybe I can make a mistake there. But not with a woman of that type that I've seen plenty of because of some work that I did in my past, where I had long conversations with prostitutes, absolute full-on prostitutes. I've had offers from prostitutes to have sex for free, no money paid, and which I turned down because I wasn't into that, and I was with somebody at the time anyway, whatever. But I know that lady wasn't lying, and she was going to testify about the child trafficking, whatever, that Gustavo Vera does for Almaeda, which is a child protection thing, which is the excuse they get to get access to kids. Gustavo Vera was going to the Vatican every month. And Bergoglio had a special room built in, you know, because he's so humble, but he spent I don't know how many millions to get that place built up the way he wants. So it's got a backdoor exit so that his back door can get filled and then the back door can be used to get out. You understand what I'm saying? And most of this comes from Anne Barnhart. Now, Anne Barnhart is another lady I have a lot of time for, although she's wrong about Ratzinger. Because she's got very good informants deep within the Catholic that tell her stuff and they give her information. And she's confirmed all of this stuff. Now, Gustavo Vera was being investigated for child trafficking and all that other shit. And guess what? This lady was murdered. And she was murdered because she was no longer on drugs, she was clean. And she put out a tweet saying, if I'm found shot in the back of the head or in the front of the head or suicided or drowned or killed, it wasn't me. They killed me because I would never, ever do that. And she had 2 kids. And I saw her fire when she was on that interview, where everybody at that interview was against her. They were all basically saying, oh, but you're just a whore, you're lying. And she was like, fuck you, I don't care. This is what's happened. That's the truth. I've seen it with my own eyes, so fuck off. I don't care. I don't give a shit. And she was absolutely adamant. And I know she was telling the truth. So that's who Bergoglio is. Now, if you're one of those cradle Catholics, like that useless prick, Laramie Hirsch, who hangs out in Vox's blog, and I've blogged about him on my blog, He said, I would kiss the Pope's ring because he's the Pope. No, he's not the fucking Pope. And when he says that you want to kiss his ring, I know which ring you're really talking about. Because if you protect that evil piece of shit by thinking that that's the Pope, fuck you. You are not a Catholic. You haven't got a clue what it means to be a Catholic, right? Big Bear is 100% right in everything he said about those fucking freaks. Because those pederasts, pedophiles, child molesting, child raping, satanistic assholes are not Catholic. And the reason that he doesn't know that is your fault. Because all of you guys that are cradle Catholics and you got born into it and you got brainwashed into it, fine, you got brainwashed into it, that's not your fault. But when you see that shit happening, you don't question it. You don't say, well, wait a fucking minute. If this is the Pope, the Vicar of Christ, why is he protecting pedophiles everywhere? Why is he shut down the Franciscan monks? Why is he getting rid of everybody that even has a remote resemblance to something approaching Catholicism and replaces them with child-abusing motherfuckers and then protects them? You don't question that. You call yourself a Catholic and you don't fucking question it. You don't go to investigate what happened there. Why? I'm a goddamn heathen. I'm a layman. And I bought this book by myself. I read through it by myself. I found Canon 188 Part 4 in here by myself. And when I read it and I figured it out, I was like, fuck, wait a minute, but this should mean that and that. And I thought, maybe I'm wrong, you know, what? Really? I mean, this is pretty clear to me. So then I started to Google Canon 188 Part 4. And only then did I figure out, oh, yeah, guess what? Just like I thought, I'm not the only smart guy. I'm not the only clever guy. I'm not so smart. A bunch of other people have figured this out from the beginning. So yeah, the Novus Ordo Church is not the Catholic Church. But they wear the skin suit. They pretend to be Catholics while they're fucking little kids. And you let them. And you even say, oh, but I'm Catholic. And you believe that those fucking things are Catholic. Those people are Catholic. They're not. Why do you think you're Catholic? You're protecting a pedophile protector. Why do you think you're Catholic? You're not Catholic. You're not Catholic. At best, you're a fucking idiot. You're an ignorant moron. Educate yourself. So all of you that sent me this thing say, oh, Big Ben, Big Bear, he had a go at the Catholics. He called the Pope a homosexual. First of all, he's not the Pope. And yes, he is a homosexual. And I believe far worse than that. So no, all of those people that, if you don't specifically, completely, totally, and utterly reject everything connected to Vatican II and all the evil motherfuckers that created it, starting with Roncalli right up to the present, none of those guys are popes. All right? No. If you don't do that, you are not a Catholic. Educate yourself. In that little book, Believe, which, by the way, Big Bear, I sent you that book. I know you got it because you read it out online, live. It's a small book. I know you're a bit dyslexic, but skim through it. It might help you figure out some shit. I utterly agree with him. Plus, in his city where he was, and I absolutely believe him, that every Catholic there was a pedophile and that they only hired pedophiles because that's exactly what they do. Do you know something? If you are a Catholic, do you know? If you're a Freemason, you can't be a Freemason and a Catholic. It's impossible, all right? That's saying that you're a Satanistic Catholic. No. You're either a Satanist or you're a Catholic. You're either Christian or you're not, okay? But more than that, if you're a homosexual, you're not allowed to be a priest. Even if you're not practicing homosexual, you're still not allowed to be a priest in the Catholic Church. So what do you think all those fags running around are? Because they infiltrated, because they put them in there on purpose, because they took over the papacy in 58 and have kept it ever since. And you let them. You let them. Do you know who's got the right to throw Bergoglio out of the Vatican with a few kicks in the ass? Anybody who's Catholic, because he is not. You don't need an ordinary, you don't need a superior. No. You know all you need? Numbers. That's all you need. So educate yourself. And stop pretending that Bergoglio is the Pope. Stop pretending that he's not a pedophile protector. Stop pretending that the fake clerics of your Catholic Church are not pedophile lying frauds. They are. They all are. And like on Social Galactic, I exposed one of them. That Padre Gio, he was wrecked, right? Everything that he tried, all his little stunts, wrecked. And everybody saw it. And at first they were like, oh yeah, the Kurgan is, oh, you've got a challenger here. Nah, I don't. Because I've actually read those books. So, one last thing. And then, you know, when Big Bear was going on about the Bible, it says, I hate theology and I hate talking about the theology and the Trinity and all that shit. I don't understand it. Keep in mind, Catholicism is a religion that was followed easily, thoroughly, and well by illiterate peasants for centuries. And it worked. All right? So, if you want to argue about Canon 188, Part 4, whatever, then that's people like me that are like a little bit more educated. You know, we went to high school and shit. We know how to read and write. We understand basic maths, logic, the sun, the moon, the stars. People like me can talk about those details and understand deeper and deeper and deeper why, no, this is the correct one. This works. This works. If you're a Protestant, you're a fucking retard. Doesn't work. If you're an Orthodox, you went off the path. Doesn't work. And you were a coward and you didn't protect your land and you didn't spread the gospel. Didn't work. But the Catholic Church, the actual Catholic Church, look at their fruits. They invented science. They created the Western world. They protected it. They protected the one of the Eastern Orthodox too, despite being betrayed every time. And spread the gospel throughout the world. It's true. We got infiltrated. We got attacked. And now, the actual Catholic Church is a tiny remnant of what it was, which currently doesn't have a pope. It does have bishops, but because there is no pope, those bishops do not have authority or jurisdiction other than over there where they literally physically are. Educate yourself. So yeah, I'm a Catholic. And was I offended by anything that Big Bear said? No, because first of all, for the majority of it, he was not talking about the Catholic Church. He was talking about the Novus Ordo Church. Now, if Big Bear were to say, you know the priest that baptized you, that guy, he's a pedophile, then Big Bear and I are going to have a fucking problem. Because that priest, I know him. And I know what kind of guy he is. And did Big Bear say some wrong things where he was wrong? Yes, he did. He said some wrong things. But can I blame him for it? No, not one little bit. Do you know why? Wait a minute. You know, because if you're going to tell me, oh, you're sucking up to Big Bear. No, Big Bear's totally fucking wrong about the moon, Mars, all that other shit, all right? But on this particular point, yes, he's wrong. I'm going to get to it. But do I blame him? No, nothing. None. Not at all. Why? Because he believes that what most people believe, that the Catholic Church is the Burgundian Empire of Moloch, which that's what it is. But people think that's the Catholic Church. Because why? Because supposed Catholic let them. You think that anybody, when I say to somebody, ask me, you know, oh, you Catholic? Yeah, I'm Catholic. And I make very clear, before they even ask, I say, yeah, I'm Catholic, which has got nothing to do with the pedophile in the Vatican at the moment. And maybe I'm saying this to a nominal Catholic and they get all fucking scandalized. I don't give them the chance to get scandalized. I blurt it out right there. Say, no, the pederast-infested frauds that live in the Vatican, they've got nothing to do with Catholicism. That's not Catholicism. They're the new orcs, you know, same as the old orcs. And if you want, I'll spend the next 4 hours drilling into your brain about it. Or you could just leave it there. But yeah, I'm a Catholic, a proper one, which means I'm a zealot, and that I believe if I had a big enough army, I would go and take the Vatican back. And then it has to be reconsecrated stone for stone, because the filth that those morons got up to in there, those evil fucks, you know, that's going to take some serious hard scrubbing with holy water to maybe get it out. We might have to take out an inch from everything, you know, just to be sure. So, yeah, I am a Catholic. Now, did he say some wrong things? Yes, he did. Did he say that about the Trinity? And, you know, nobody knows what the Trinity is. He's right. Do you fucking know what the Trinity is? Can you explain it? I can't. I'm a Catholic. I'm absolutely a Catholic. When I cross myself, I do. I say, you know, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Yeah, like he said, and he made fun of that for a long while. Do I know exactly what it means? No. Well, why do I do it then? Oh, you've got to understand what you're doing. Because nobody understands all of it. That, to me, is a part that I put in a little box that I say, well, I believe the tradition, whatever, you know, it does no harm. It does no harm. It's not like if I say Father, Son, and Holy Ghost that you know, that I'm saying it's okay to rape kids or whatever. You know, it has no bearing on anybody else's life or anything. And I don't know. leave it there. It's like, okay, that's there. It's like, when is the end of the world? I don't know. Nobody knows. Not even Jesus knows. It tells you in the Bible. Now, when, Owen was going on about the two deics, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit and whatever, and being blasphemous and all that. Again, do I blame him? No, I don't blame him, because he doesn't know any better. He doesn't know any better because he doesn't know what the Catholic Church is. And everything that he's lived through of what he thinks is the Catholic Church is an abomination. So, of course, he would be railing against that stuff. Now, personally, what do I personally believe about the Trinity? Like I said, I don't know. I know there's the Son, there's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. What is the Holy Spirit? How does it work exactly? I don't know. What I do know is that it says in the Bible that you can blaspheme against Jesus and you'll still be all right. But if you blaspheme against the Holy Spirit, you're fucked. You're done for. I don't know why that is. I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know. But it must be pretty important if it's in there. I don't understand it. I don't pretend to. Because again, I remind you, Catholicism worked just fine for illiterate peasants. And it would work just fine for non-illiterate, still peasants, Germans, like Owen, who don't trim their fucking beard. It's disturbing. But would work just fine for them. So would it work for me, who's very literate, nobleman, of a long lineage? But even I don't know that last little bit. It's fine. I don't need to, right? It's a bunch of stuff that I just sort of say, well, that's fine. Just leave it there. What about the stuff about, here's one. Here's a good one for you. Confession, right? Oh, you're confessing to another human being. You're calling the priest father, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. And in the Bible, it says you should call no man father. Yeah. Again, context. Again, you got to read. I'm not even going to bother arguing, because the Protestants will never fucking read the goddamn Bible properly. They will never study. They will never read the history. They will never understand. So what Jesus was saying is call no man father, and in the same father he meant God. Do not give your worship to human beings. It doesn't mean the autistic literally using the word father. Now, why do the Catholics call the priests father? I don't know. I don't. I call them Don. It's an alternative thing in Italian you can do. You can say, Don Paolo, Don whatever, Don Nicholas. You can call him Don. That's a form of respect, right? It's like sir or, doctor or whatever. That's fine. I tend to not call them father, but it's neither here or there for me, one way or the other. It's just doesn't feel right to me, because I've got a father on earth and there is God, and that's good enough for me. But I do believe priests should deserve some respect. Proper priests, actual priests. Let me say something further. Let's say that one of my priests, right, one of the actual Catholic priests, and by the way, these guys are fucking poor, they don't have money, they wouldn't do this, okay, if they didn't believe it 100%. And plus, they're awesome people. So there's another wrong thing that Owen said that I'll get to. But if you're telling me, oh, well, what if one of your priests turned out he really was a pedophile? Well, again, for my money, you nail him upside down to the door of the church and you set him on fire slowly over a period of about a week. Because I don't give a flying. If you're a normal pedophile, not a priest pedophile, you get burnt at the stake in the city square. Takes you a few hours, but that's kind of quick compared to how I'd burn a priest to death if he was a pedophile. Because being a priest, his responsibility is much higher, a lot higher. And therefore the punishment must be higher. Because you give him respect out of the fact that he's a priest and he's made the sacrifice of not getting married, not having a family, blah, blah, blah. This is the wrong part that Owen talked about, where he says, what the fuck does a gay priest know about marriage? But again, was he wrong? No, he wasn't wrong. He's talking about the gay fake priests of the Novus Ordo Church, Novus Ordo Church, giving you advice on marriage. Well, you bet that shit's gonna be wrong. But you don't have to take my word for it. You can ask my wife, she'll tell you the same thing. When we went to get confirmed and married, we sat through a crash course, a 24-hour crash course on marriage with the Catholic priest. And let me tell you, I have never received advice on a relationship, on a marriage, that was anywhere close to that good, ever, in my entire life, right? And why? Is it because he knows about men, women? No. It's because he's looking at it from a much higher perspective, which is that of kind of a God's eye view to a certain extent, because he's removed from the thing, so you can see it more clearly. And he's using the doctrine of the church, which tells you what is correct, what is wrong, how to be. The man is the head, the wife, is not the head, follows the husband, but you protect your wife, and so on, And following those precepts and 2,000 years of really clever, really guys that really thought hard about the stuff and they lived it, has produced documents and a tradition and the thing that has created, the strongest families that ever lived on the planet, created the best situation ever. Catholics. Okay? But Big Bear doesn't know any of this stuff, so he was talking about the Novus Ordo Church, and he's 100% correct. That is what the Novus Ordo Church is. It's the Church of Moloch, all right? So he's absolutely right. I don't have a single problem with any of the things he said. In the things that he said blasphemously, if Jesus, while he's hanging on the cross, says to God, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And that's when they're killing him and flayed him alive and spat at him and all that. I'm pretty sure he's going to give Owen a pass, given that Owen is speaking what he's speaking about the Holy Ghost, about Catholicism, about the priest, in ignorance, but not because he's lazy or stupid, but because nobody ever explained it to him, and his whole life they've put in front of him. Keep in mind, he was educated as a Catholic, and I blame if you're going to blame anybody, you should blame his grandparents, for not, or whoever was around, whoever was the adult in 1958, for not saying, no, fuck, this is wrong, I'm not going to go with that shit. That's bullshit, that's a lie. And going along with Vatican II just to get along to, I'll go along to get along kind of shit. Fuck that. Whoever in Owen's life was around in 1958 and didn't tell him shit, that's the guys I blame. Now, what about me? What about my family? My fucking parents didn't know shit about the Catholic Church. Nobody told them a fucking thing. Their parents didn't teach them a jack shit. And my grandmother, my father's side, she used to go to church regularly. My grandfather never stepped foot in one, as far as I know. But that man was more of a Christian than most people. And he had faith. He just didn't talk about it, didn't discuss it with people. Maybe because he saw the whole world turn to shit as far as the Catholic Church was concerned, and he thought, well, I don't know what the fuck to do. I got a family to feed. I got shit to deal with. I got a house to pay off and whatever. And he worked his ass off. He couldn't go to school because his father died when he was 19. He had 2 kids. He was busy. And he was like, fuck that shit, but I'm not taking part in it. And he didn't. He didn't take part in it, but he had a faith. Somehow he had a faith, which, by the way, he transmitted in his own way to both, in some minuscule way, to even my father, and some minuscule, even more minuscule maybe way, to me too. And now that happened to me, and now I see it. Now I look back and I think, oh, that was a man of honor. That is a man that had a word. That is a man that if he told he was going to be there at this particular point in time, if he wasn't there, it's because he was dead or something really bad happened, So yeah, I don't blame Owen for not knowing this stuff, and I don't think God does either, because he's going with what he sees in front of him. And keep in mind that he's been lied to the whole time. His father is a gay freak, You bet that the guy's got a few trust issues, Who wouldn't? And he goes off on a tangent sometimes, and he's very passionate, so he gets upset and he shouts because he's German and they don't know how to speak like normal people. He's a good guy. He did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong with that particular. In fact, I recommend you watch it. It's number 863. Go unauthorized. Check it out. It's funny. It's awesome. And, Owen, if you ever do go to Antarctica and there is an ice wall and you get beyond the ice wall and you find the land of the giants or the dinosaurs or the aliens or the hollow world, fucking call me, right? I want to see that shit. Believe me, if it turns out that the earth is fucking flat and I'm totally wrong and I've been fooled this whole time, I'll be the first to say I was totally fucking wrong. Now, show me where the dinosaurs are and the fucking giants. I want to check that shit out, right? Not scared of it. If the Aurora Borealis is unicorns farting at the South Pole, fucking bring it on. I want to check it out. I want to find out if it's true that only a virgin can ride a unicorn. Because if I can get on top of one of those fuckers, then you know that's not true. So that's my little rant over about the Big Bear. Now, all those of you that are disappointed because you thought I was going to have a go at Big Bear, you have to understand something about me, about Big Bear, about Vox, about all these guys. I don't give a flying fuck who you are, right? If I think that you're talking out of your ass, I'll say so. And if you start talking out of your ass and we're kind of friendly, might not tell everybody in public, but if you're talking out of your ass in public and then you go on to talk a little bit out of your ass about stuff that I happen to think differently in public, well, then I'm going to say it in public too. But, you know, I'm friends with Vox. I like him. I like his family. I like his kids. They're awesome. But if Vox all of a sudden doesn't, it's not even hypothetical. It's happened. When Vox started using the term alt-right, which he himself recently said, whatever the fuck that means now, I wrote an article on Men of the West saying, no, I disagree with that. Shouldn't use alt-right because it was coined by a fucking idiot, Richard Spencer, who's a complete prick. Fuck it. I wouldn't associate anything with that asshole. And I said, call it alt-west. Alt-west is fine. That doesn't have any connotations linked to that idiot who then, you know, Dick Spencer, that's his name, and telling me he's not a fucking CIA plant. Dick Spencer. He dispenses dicks, you know, I don't know. There you go, Owen, that's a good one for you. Dick Spencer. So, you know, there's a, it's just, I don't know. Yeah. But that's what I mean. You know, if I disagree with somebody, I'll say so. It doesn't mean they can't be my friend. I don't agree with everything, with anybody on this earth, and neither does anybody else, you know. So, no, I got no issues with Owen. He's fine, you know. He fucked up a little while ago, and he said, oh, Curran is a coward. And, well, you're wrong about that, but I think he backpedaled there. I don't know. I was told I don't have the time to look at all the streams or whatever, and I don't really have the time at all, because I'm finishing this big fucking tome that's going to drive a stake in the Novus Ordo. So, there you go. When that book comes out, it's going to be, you know, a little bit thinner than this one, but not by much. And it covers every single fucking argument, so that nobody, after that comes out, you read that, you can't tell me that you're a Catholic, but Bergoglio's the Pope. No, you're not a Catholic, okay? If you think Bergoglio's the Pope, you're not a Catholic. At best, you're a lazy idiot, at best. And if you watch this video and you're still not going to go and look into it, then you're definitely guilty of the sin of sloth. You're a sloth. You're a lazy asshole. You call yourself a Catholic and you don't have the time or the inclination to go and read up what happened in Vatican II. You don't have the time or inclination to understand what canon law says. You don't have the time or inclination to understand why 40 Normans coming back from a pilgrimage took back a city in Sicily just because they were there, didn't take any payment, returned all the weapons and armor that they borrowed to do it. Those were Catholics. Okay? The guys that are scared to go to church now because of a flu, no. Those are not Catholics. So, yeah. And that's my almost 1 hour rant. So well done, Owen. Got me fired up after all. You know, all these guys telling me that what an idiot you are, and look, man, you know, I love you, but you know, you're fucking wrong about the moon. But whatever, you know, it's fine. You know, one day, if I ever become a millionaire and have my own plane or whatever, I will fly on the round Earth, land near wherever the fuck you are, come knock on your door with a big fuck off telescope, and then I'm gonna say, Owen, let's check this out, right? First we look at this shit, and then with the rest of my millions, We can hire an icebreaker and go all the way to fucking Antarctica, and let's go scale that wall that you think is there. All right? No problem doing that shit. I just don't have the money for it. I need a shitload of money because, you know, I got a family and shit, and so do you. But if you should come across a few million and you want to bring along a guy just to prove how fucking wrong he was about the giants, the ice wall, and the hollow earth or whatever, I'm your man. I am the guy that will stand there before and say to everybody, you're fucking wrong, Owen. There is no ice wall. There's no giants. The earth is round, spins around the sun, which spins it around in the galaxy and all that. And you're an idiot. I'll say it live on camera. And then if we go there and there is an ice wall and there are whatever the fuck's behind that, I will, same guy, on the same video, a few days later, put up my hand again and say, I was totally fucking wrong. He's right. He must be some kind of genius. I don't know how the fuck he knew because I sure as shit couldn't figure it out. But he was right and I was wrong. I'll say that if that's what happens, all right? But until that time, you're wrong about the moon. Let's just be clear on that. But you're right about the pederasts in the fucking Vatican. All of them. All of them. Not a single one of them is a Catholic. You don't know that. You don't care. You call them Catholics because everybody else does. I get it. I get it. It's not your fault that you think those pederastic fucks are Catholics. It's our fault. It's our fault. I've told you now, and you've got a little book which I sent you a while back. So if you want to know more, read a bit of that because it's interesting. But, you know, that's up to you, man. All right, that's it. Good night. Oh, let's see if my little remote works for switching off too. Good night. No, doesn't work. Try again.